I'm Jessica Huang, and my play is Mother of Exiles, 150 years of a multiracial family epic told in 90 minutes. The seed of it, the dream of it. So I often write about mixed families, multiracial families, people of mixed race and people of multiracial descent. And I've been carrying around this play for a long time, where we'd see sort of generations and families and the way that things evolve and change, and also don't change. I'm so sorry.
Oh my gosh.
You're driving me crazy, baby. I'll hop up. Okay. You win.
Up.
Where were we? I was talking about the seed of my play, Mother of Exiles, which is a play that I had wanted to write for a very long time, that I had been sort of walking around with, trying to sort of track and talk about American history and a single family that was intersecting both with the major immigration themes and crises of each moment in history, and also continuing to grow and change as it became more and more multiracial. And then I went to Singapore, and I went to China, and I met a lot of my family that I hadn't met before, both living members of my family, including my grand uncle, who is sort of the keeper of our family story, and who sat me down for a week and just told me the story of my people. And also I got to pay my respects to my great grandfather and go see where his remains were last known to be. And all of that, sort of the ancestral world, then sort of arrived thanks to that trip. And then the play sort of wrote itself. It became very clear what it was. It's a story about this family that as they sort of continue through American history, and as they grow and change, they're sort of guided and shaped by the people that came before them and the people that have passed on. I often center people of mixed race in the plays that I write. And that, I think, is a thing that is sort of universal. And the other maybe thing that I tend to do is write pretty complex, layered plays, and I'm often experimenting with form. So I have a play, The Paper Dreams of Harry Chin, which is about Harry, who is a real person, and his daughter Sheila, who's also a real person, his immigration story and the way that it impacted his family and his relationship with his daughter. And that's, it's also a ghost story. I have a play, Transmissions in Advance of the Second Great Dying, which takes place in the future in 2043. And it's about Earth's human and non-human inhabitants contending with climate crisis. Stuff I'm working on now, I've had sort of a very productive pandemic in that way. I've been doing a lot of writing. And so I've written a play about the invention of the birth control pill, which is adapting the book by Jonathan Eig, The Birth of the Pill, and is telling the story of Margaret Sanger and Catherine McCormick and Gregory Pincus and John Rock and Min Chua and all of these folks who come together to sort of invent the pill that sort of changes the world for women. But it also was invented using women's bodies, non-consensually sometimes. I also have been working on a play about the Northwoods of Minnesota. This is a play for Audible, so it's an audio play, kind of a noir, also about the environment. So I'm calling it an eco-noir. Also just kind of an ode to Minnesota in some ways, the place where I'm from. I'm working on a musical too about the Kim Lu sisters, who were a girl group from the 1930s and 40s. Again, real people that really were amazing Chinese, Polish, American singers and stars. And they had a long career doing the USO, and they were on Broadway and in some movies, and then essentially sort of vanished from our collective history. And so I'm working on an original musical about them and their life. And I just wanted to lift them up for a moment too, because they're really special women that I feel very privileged to be able to spend some time with. I'm working very closely with Leslie Lee, who is one of the sisters' daughters. It's just another one of those moments where I feel very lucky to be a creator that's intersecting with some other amazing artistic minds. She's a writer and also a documentary filmmaker. So they tend to have some sort of political or topical heart or root something that I am really eager to investigate and explore. And I also tend to do a lot of research. So maybe those are other sort of common things. I have a boutique theater company that my husband and I have in our back pocket, sort of, called Other Tiger Productions, which we sort of revive anytime we have some sort of crazy idea that we want to make. So this poster behind me is for the Palabras Project, which was another Tiger production that was a sort of interpretation of Lorca's Blood Wedding. And we call it boutique because it really sort of just waits around for us to need it, and then it pops up. But it's a really special and fun thing to do, to be able to produce, and I love that. Other hats at the moment, I'm like a walker, a dog, and a home cook. I also have taught, but I guess, the more time passes, the more that I realize that I am the happiest when I'm writing. And so there was a time where I would have answered this question saying, I'm a director and a producer, and sure, I'll try my hand at puppetry. But at this point, I just have realized that I want to be a master of scripted storytelling. And so that is where I put a lot of my focus and my energy, and I've sort of simplified. I feel like there's a feeling of connection that I'm going for, connected to their own history and family and future, and also open. I think that the play's working. It's continually encouraging and reminding us to be brave in our love and to be expansive in our love and open ourselves to human beings who are different from us or who we wouldn't expect to have a connection with. And so I hope that an audience, after experiencing it, is feeling that way as well. I mean, I think it has maybe a few, which is, let's rethink immigration policy and figure out how to be humane and welcoming. Also, we've got to get our butts together here about climate change, because it's not too far away and we're going to be in real trouble. I was just thinking about the experience of voting today and how, on the surface it may not seem connected, the fact that we're in this, standing in line for 2.5 hours in a community of people who are early voting and in line for that long because of the circumstances that we find ourselves in right now, a pandemic, uprisings across the country because of the brutality that is impacting our Black brothers and sisters, inequity in such a huge and extreme way, no access to healthcare, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It may not seem obvious to connect all of those things to the fact that our world is getting warmer, but I think all of the crises that we're facing will only continue to get worse as our climate changes and becomes less habitable and impacts our poorest communities and our communities of color inordinately compared to wealthy communities. So that's a thing that I can't help but also just say that's a big part of the play, actually, is our connection to the earth, and history being inextricably tied to our connection to the planet and the future as well.